Hey guys, it's time to dive back into the addictive world of solo leveling. And today we're tackling episode 1 to 12. Episode 1 of Solo Leveling starts 3 years ago with a Navy officer asking his captain why they're not participating in the current fight. The captain tells the officer that it's best to let the hunters handle it. We then shift to several low-rank hunters battling an army of large ants. The ants overpower them, but the S-rank hunters arrive and support them. Elsewhere, Guildmaster Choi and his men combat a different army of ants. It's here we learn more about this universe's origins. 10 years ago, several gates appeared that linked the human world with an alternate dimension. Behind each gate lay bizarre creatures called magic beasts who are immune to standard human weapons. Humans with awakened abilities, called hunters, are assigned to fight them. They're ranked from S rank to E rank based on their magic power. Hunters cannot achieve greater strength once they've awakened their powers. 3 years later, two men named Park and Kim catch up on life. Kim wonders why Park is still participating in raids, and Park says he wants to make money to provide for his family. Suddenly, Solo Leveling's protagonist, Sung Jinwoo, arrives and Kim greets him. Kim tells Park Sung is one of the weakest hunters of all time, and if Sung's ever tackling a raid, it's likely an easy one. Sung meets a fellow hunter named Joo-hee, who questions why he's scuffed up. Sung details his experience with an E-rank dungeon. Although S-rank hunters accompanied him, they didn't think to bring a healer along for the raid. Joo-hee thinks it was a selfish choice on the S-rank hunter's part, but Sung says he's used to being treated poorly because he's weak. Joo-hee and Sung attend a raid meeting held by their leader Song Chi-yul. After greeting his fellow hunters Sung, and the others travel through a gate. Elsewhere, a man greets Chairman Go and discusses how things went with his meeting with the administration. Go says the administrators are concerned about dungeon breaks. However, they want the hunters to continue collecting valuable items inside every dungeon. Go thinks it's logical, considering hunters make a living by selling the resources they find. He shows his comrade an essence stone, which is something hunters collect from magic beasts they defeat. We shift to Sung's perspective. He's having trouble defending himself against the dungeon's magic beasts. Park saves Sung and says he plans to confront this dungeon's other magic beasts. He asks Joo-hee to look after Sung. We return to Go and his comrade discussing the essence stones more. He says the essence stones can be turned into powerful weapons and gear. Additionally, hunters may encounter mana crystals that have similar applications, but Go says they're less potent. Further, Go says the government wants to use these items for more efficient purposes. He says the government is working on a way to generate electricity using essence stones and mana crystals to produce an ideal, clean energy source for the world. Meanwhile, Sung and the other hunters defeat the dungeon's boss and celebrate. As Sung watches on, Joo-hee feels Sung shouldn't continue pursuing the hunter lifestyle and reminds him about the injuries he sustained during this expedition. Sung apologizes and wishes he could have achieved more than a mere E-rank essence stone. Several hunters discover a cave and wonder if this will lead to another dungeon. Song suggests they wait to hear from the Hunters Association before tackling this second dungeon. However, Park feels it should be safe since it's connected to a D-rank dungeon. Song asks everyone to vote on whether they should proceed or concede. 6 hunters say yes, while the other half say no, leaving Sung to decide for the group. Since Sung's family is in a rut so far, he tells Song they should proceed. Elsewhere, we see an agent and Choi discuss matters involving 1 B-rank hunter and 2 C-rank hunters. Choi's happy to hear this news and tells the agent to make them an offer if they seem like an asset to him. However, he feels these hunters won't compare to Chae Hae-in, an S-rank hunter. After witnessing Cha Hae-in stop 2 thieves, we shift to Sung and the others who are on their way to fight the second dungeon's boss. Joo-hee's frustrated with Sung because of his decision. Our hunters arrive at the dungeon boss's chambers, and we cut to Go virtually greeting several newly awakened hunters. He discusses their world's history, from the gates to the dungeons that lay behind them. Additionally, he knows some will choose the hunter path, while others will opt out. He tells the aspiring hunters that it's best to act cautiously and to be fearful of each raid they partake in. Sung and the others enter the dungeon and notice that it looks different than the previous one they conquered. Someone informs Song about an ancient scripture and Song reads it line by line. Meanwhile, Joo-hee's cautious about one of the dungeon statues. Once Song finishes reading the scripture, the entrance door closes. One of the hunters attempts to leave but gets murdered minutes later by one of the dungeon statues. Everyone's concerned about the statues, including Sung, who is worried about the statue that caught Joo-hee's attention. Sung reflects on his prior dungeon raiding experiences with fellow hunters. He states how the other hunters would walk away with better experiences than himself. Despite his poor occasions with dungeons, Sung says he developed a keen eye for detail concerning opportunities and dangerous scenarios. The statue shoots a laser from its eye and annihilates a few hunters in the process. The episode then closes with Sung questioning if he and his allies will escape this place with their lives intact. Episode 2 of Solo Leveling starts with Song approaching and praising Sung for his observation skills. Song asks Sung to tend to his wound because he knows Juhee doesn't handle intense scenarios well. Song reflects on his experiences with B-rank dungeons and believes the giant statue that shot the laser beam is an A or S rank level foe. Song recites the lines from the scripture he read in episode 1. Sung wonders if the god from its text happens to be the giant statue figure. We shift perspective to Sung's sister, Gina. She discusses Sung's occupation with a classmate for a bit. We return to Sung and his allies in the second dungeon. Song tells everyone it'd be best to create a solid strategy. One party member disagrees and tries to rely on his speed feats to escape. Unfortunately, he perishes to the giant statue's laser beam attack. Sung questions the statue's murderous intentions. He asks Song to reiterate the ancient scripture's first commandment. Afterwards, Sung bows before the statue, since the first commandment requires folks to revere God. The statue halts its attack, signaling to Sung that the statue is the god the scripture is referring to. Sung informs the others to do the same, and they manage to escape death. Then, the god statue rises from its chair and approaches the hunters. Song asks Sung what they should do next. Sung remembers the second commandment's words about praising God. A male hunter approaches the god statue and prays to it. However, the god statue murders the individual. Sung believes it's because the gentleman's words don't apply to the god statue. The god statue murders a female hunter, causing our heroes to... Park tries running far away from the god statue, but gets murdered by one of the statue's allies. Sung notices a few statues with instruments nearby and tells the others to head toward them. Song and another ally head near these statues. These statues don't show murderous intent. However, Sung and Juhee flee to one statue. Sung leaves Juhee in its protection because he's unsure if this statue will protect them both. Before Sung perishes at the god statue's feet, he reaches a nearby instrument carrying statue in time, which saves his life. The god statue returns to its seat. Sung realizes this is the correct way to praise it. Juhee rushes over to Sung and realizes he's lost one of his legs. As Juhee heals Sung's wound, Kim scolds Song for his poor leadership and decision. Suddenly, the god statue causes the floor to rupture beneath our hunter's feet and summons an altar. Sung relays intel about altars and their history, in addition to the third commandment's wording about people needing to prove their faith in God. Kim tells Song that he should sacrifice himself. Song approaches the altar and Sung feels guilty about Song taking the fall for all this. Suddenly, flames start sprouting around the altar. Sung asks two hunters to take him to the altar so he can observe it. At the altar, Sung and Song discuss if it'd be a good idea to wait here for help to arrive. Sung informs the audience about the dungeon break phenomenon that occurs when a gate opens up all the way after 7 days pass. During this event, monsters can cross over to the real world. Additionally, he highlights why it's important for hunters to defeat a dungeon's boss and seal the gate up before the 7-day limit. Sung fears if they can't find a way to stop the god statue, it'll likely leave its dungeon and cause a ruckus in the real world. Sung asks Kim and Juhee to enter the altar's domain. Suddenly, several statues approach our hunters. Sung tells everyone to keep their eyes on the statues. A female hunter breaks from the pressure and flees somewhere. One of the hunters thinks she made it out, okay, leaving Sung mildly confused and contemplating what's going on. Another hunter succumbs to pressure, drops Sung on the ground, and flees in the same direction the woman did. Kim attempts to flee next, but Sung tells him and the others to keep their eyes on the statue. He believes blue flames surrounding them act as a timer, and once they're extinguished, they'll be free to go. Kim praises Sung for his guidance, but chooses to leave. Song tells Juhee to escape with Sung and leave him be. Juhee tries to leave but realizes she can't move her legs. Song wonders if it's because she used too much power during her attempt to heal Sung's wound. Sung tells Song to escape the place with Juhee. Juhee refuses to leave him behind, so Song knocks her out and leaves Sung alone. Sung's glad he'll be the one to suffer the dungeon statue's wrath. Sung tries retaliating, but gets manhandled by the statues. During this brutal beatdown, Sung reflects on his life experiences. Before the final flame extinguishes, and one of the statues attacks Sung, a log appears in front of him. This log informs Sung that he's qualified to become a player. It tells him he has 2 seconds to accept the offer, otherwise he'll die. The episode closes with Sung accepting the offer. Episode 3 of Solo Leveling starts with Sung waking up in a hospital bed and realizing the injuries he sustained from the statues are gone. Suddenly, Woo, the Hunter Association surveillance team manager, and his partner Kang enter Sung's room. They inform Sung he's been unconscious for 3 days. They confirm Sung may retire soon. Joo-hee's undergoing psychiatric treatment, and only 6 survivors lived through the double dungeon ordeal. Woo states the White Tiger Guild was alerted about the incident and went to the temple to save them. However, they only found Sung lying on the ground, with no statues or a temple in sight. Woo asks Sung if he experienced a second awakening. Sung wonders if that's the case and places his hand on Kang's mana meter to see if that occurred to him. Unfortunately, Sung's mana levels haven't changed. Woo and Kang apologize and leave his room. In his room, Sung's shocked. They didn't ask him questions about the log in front of him. Sung tampers with the log for a bit. Suddenly, Gina enters the room and yells at him for making her panic about his safety. He realizes Gina can't see the log either and asks her questions concerning unread video game notifications and how to access them. Gina tells him how, and Sung learns he's become the player and must complete a daily strength training quest. Sung reads several notifications detailing important data concerning the player development system. It says if he fails to comply with the system's demand, he'll earn a penalty. Additionally, the system tells him he's been rewarded with something, but Sung doesn't understand what this all means. Sung notices the daily strength training quest notification and opens it up. Sung reads things he needs to complete today and laughs it off. Elsewhere, Woo informs Chairman Go via phone that Sung didn't undergo a second awakening. Chairman Go understands and is thankful. This expedition didn't result in a dungeon break. However, he tells Woo that he's going to list this matter as a special case that'll be evaluated over time. In his office, Guildmaster Choi tells Che he'd like them to participate in a B-rank raid as an instructor. Che's hesitant about her instructor capabilities, but Choi says she just needs to tackle the raid as normal. After a gate appears in the middle of the street, to many citizens' dismay. At the hospital, the log informs Sung that he failed to complete his daily request. Sung winds up in a desert-like environment with a giant centipede looming over him. The log tells Sung he must survive this ordeal for 4 hours since he failed to complete his daily quest. Sung runs for his life, conquers the quest, and ends up back in the hospital. At a loss for words, Sung faints as the log informs him that he received a reward for completing the penalty quest. In the morning, Sung tells Jina that he might be able to leave the hospital soon. Jean is happy to hear this news and jokes about Sung taking her to dinner soon. At Joo-hee's home, someone calls and asks her to participate in a D-rank raid. Joo-hee declines the offer and the man informs her about Sung's current condition. Joo-hee arrives at the hospital and eavesdrops on a conversation between 2 nurses. They're discussing Sung's bizarre infatuation with exercise as of late. Joo-hee spots Sung running outside and leaves to confront him. Meanwhile, we learn that Sung completed his daily strength training quest. Additionally, Sung rambles about what he's learned about the player development system and the 3 types of rewards he receives for completing said quests. These rewards consist of full recovery, ability points, and a random loot box. Sung returns to his hospital room to see what's inside today's loot box. Sung receives a key that allows him to teleport to an instance dungeon. Sung questions what that is for a bit. After we receive a news report regarding several D-rank and C-rank gates appearing in the area, we cut to Sung visiting his mother's hospital room. We enter a flashback involving Sung, Jina, and their mother. In it, we learn Sung's mother's experiencing a disease called final rest, a type of eternal sleep disease that came into existence when the gates popped up. The doctor says it's a rare disease people can theoretically obtain if they continue to expose themselves to mana. Unfortunately, the doctor says proper life support is the only thing they can provide Jina and Sung's mother with. We receive a montage of Sung completing his daily quests. During this time, he ponders his previous experiences with former co-workers and hunters. In his hospital room, Sung decides to devote most of his ability points to his strength stat. Then, Sung travels to Hapjuang Station and uses the loot box key to enter the instance dungeon. Suddenly, the dungeon closes and the log appears, informing Sung that he must defeat the instance dungeon's boss or use a teleportation stone if he wants to return home. Sung encounters several goblins and defeats them. Suddenly, a steel-fanged lichen arrives and lowers Sung's morale. Sung's worried because he knows he can't rely on anyone to heal him if the lichen wounds or kills him. The episode closes with the lichen leaping toward Sung. Episode 4 of Solo Leveling starts where the previous chapter left off and shows the steel-fanged lichen pouncing on Sung. Fortunately, Sung avoids the attack and lands a punch on the lichen. The two squabble for a bit, and Sung's concerned for his safety. He summons the log's inventory menu, pulls out a magic sword, and defeats the lichen with it. Suddenly, 2 more lichens rush toward Sung as he struggles to pull his sword out of the ground. However, he finds a way to pull it out, resulting in another lichen's death. The third lichen retreats, and Sung uses the opportunity to relax. He looks at his log's menu and notices his level and stats rose because he endured real combat. Sung approaches one of the dead lichens to see if they have an essence stone. Unfortunately, it's not carrying an essence stone, but Sung receives its fang as a reward. Sung realizes this log's dungeon, and the magic beasts differ from the ones found in typical gates. Suddenly, a store pops up, but Sung can't access it because he must be at a higher level. Sung sells the lichen fang and receives 20 gold. Sung questions if that's a lot of money and speculates this instance dungeon is E rank level at best. He contemplates this dungeon's rules and doesn't know what he should focus on. Suddenly, multiple lichens appear and Sung engages them with everything he's got. As he slays each lichen, several level up logs pop up to the point where Sung earns himself the Wolf Assassin title. Sung defeats all the lichens and realizes his sword's nearing its end. The Wolf Assassin title log appears again, this time informing Sung that he's earned numerous items, including a teleportation stone. Sung chooses to continue exploring the instance dungeon. Meanwhile, Jo-hee receives a phone call from the same fellow who called her in episode 3. This person informs her that a dungeon break occurred at the mission she declined to tackle. The person says they're in dire need of healers, and after thinking about Sung, Jo-hee accepts the mission. Meanwhile, we see Sung murdering magic beasts and leveling up in the instance dungeon. Additionally, Sung notes how the color of the monster's titles indicates their strength levels and how that color can change over time, depending on Sung's current level. Sung travels to a dangerous environment and believes he'll encounter a magic beast that'll provide him with an incredible challenge. While strolling through it, the magic beast attacks Sung and breaks his sword. The magic beast appears in front of Sung and he notices its name is colored orange, meaning it's on equal footing with him. Sung assumes this snake is the dungeon's boss. Although Sung's unsure how he'll fare against the Kasaka's impenetrable skin, he battles it. During his bout with the Kasaka, Sung reflects on topics regarding courage, weakness, and strength concerning the experiences he's had over the years as a hunter and citizen. He, with unwavering determination and his memory of the god statue, Sung uses his strength to squeeze the life out of the Kasaka. Several log entries pop up, informing Sung that he's leveled up significantly thanks to his victory over the Kasaka. Additionally, Sung receives a dagger that's made out of the Kasaka's fangs and a venom gland. However, Sung suggests storing the venom gland away since it looks like a terrifying item to use in his eyes. The log sends Sung back to Earth. He stumbles upon a soldier who leads Sung to the tragic incident. Sung learns a dungeon break occurred and uses his new perceptive powers to pinpoint the boss's location. At the location, several hunters and healers struggle to combat the dungeon break boss. Sung examines the battle from afar and pinpoints reasons why this party failed to defeat the boss. He notices Jui struggling alongside this party because she's still shaken up by the god statue incident. Realizing the boss is weaker than him, Sung chucks his broken sword at it to shatter its defenses. This allows the party to defeat it. One of the members notices Sung's dagger and asks a nearby mercenary if he knows who threw it. Before the mercenary could introduce Sung to him, Sung flees. Elsewhere, Sung's shocked he managed to pierce through the boss's defenses with his broken sword. The episode closes with Jo-hee questioning if Sung was the one who threw the sword. Episode 5 Solo Leveling starts with several nurses chatting about Sung's miraculous athletic development. During their conversations, we see Sung performing several exercises from push-ups to squats. One of the nurses tells Sung he'll be discharged from the hospital today. She asks for his contact information, and Sung exchanges it with her. Then we cut to an interview between a woman and a male C-rank hunter named Bai Kyun-ho. She asks him several questions regarding his ordinary and hunter lifestyle. Then, we cut to Jinna watching the interview from home. She notices she's running late and calls out to Sung. Jinna glances at Sung and notices he's changed. Sung gives Jinna an umbrella and tells her to stay safe. Alone, Sung checks his player log and notices he still needs to complete his daily quest's running task. Then, he checks his status and learns he still has points left from his last trial. He questions what stat he should apply these points toward. Afterward, Sung's landlord calls him about his late rent payment. He tells Sung he can hold off on the due date, but Sung insists he can pay him soon. Sung contemplates ways he can earn money swiftly and adequately. Later, Sung completes his running requirement and accepts the rewards for completing his daily quest. Then, Sung meets Hwang Dongsuk and gets ridiculed by Hwang's subordinates because of his weak hunter moniker. Hwang calms his allies down and relays intel about what he wants Sung to help them accomplish during their C-rank dungeon expedition. He informs Sung they don't plan to share spoils with him, but are planning to pay him a lot of cash for his help. Sung learns that Hwang doesn't have a healer in his party and questions him about it. Hwang says he tends to operate without one, which bugs Sung a bit. Nevertheless, Sung signs Hwang's contract. Then, a D-rank hunter named Yu Jinho approaches Sung and says they're after the same prize. Arthur Howang and the others enter the gate. Yu's worried if they'll be okay. Sung tells Yu that the gate size doesn't indicate how terrifying the dungeon inside will be. He says the gate's magic power level will indicate if the dungeon will be easy or difficult. As they traverse through this dungeon, Sung gives Yu a rundown on glowstones and their functions. Before Yu asks Sung more questions, Sung tells him to be quiet. Sung uses this chance to listen in on the area's sounds to see if he can pinpoint what type of magic beasts they're dealing with. Sung realizes they're dealing with insect types and tells Hwang. Hwang and his allies remain diligent and demonstrate excellent teamwork against their ant foes. Sung praises Hwang and his party, but feels they have room to improve. Sung feels something is amiss. Meanwhile, Howang and his allies seemingly defeat all the ant monsters. He tells his allies to grab all the essence stones so they can split them up. After Hwang praises Sung for his instincts, another ally tells Hwang that this dungeon may harbor a stronger magic beast. Simultaneously, Sung tells Yu to keep his guard up, after Yu tells him that his father got him expensive gear for his first raid. After a brief scene involving Bake and other hunters, we continue following Sung and his party members' C-rank dungeon endeavors. Sung is concerned that Hwang's deal is too good to be true. Hwang and the others stumble upon a cave full of mana crystals. He hopes that these crystals will assist him in growing his dream strike team. Yu asks Sung for his contract and confronts Hwang about some details regarding it. Hwang says they should focus on transporting the crystals out of the dungeon before fighting its spider boss. Unfortunately, one of Hwang's allies didn't think they'd find a cave full of mana crystals, so he didn't bring the equipment necessary for excavating them all. Hwang tells Yu and Sung to remain here while they return to his comrade's truck to gather the mining tools. Sung contemplates Hwang's earlier sentiments and realizes something's not adding up. As they leave, Hwang tells his ally to seal up the boss's chamber. Yo and Sung realize they've been betrayed, and Sung recalls a comrade's words about several peculiar expeditions. Yu's upset that Hwang and the others betrayed them over mana crystals. Sung tells Yu to stand aside since he plans to combat the spider. The episode closes with a dramatic shot of Sung standing up to the spider boss. The episode 6 of Solo Leveling begins with Hwang and his party exiting the dungeon. His comrade questions Hwang's plan, but Hwang ensures them that his mana crystal gathering and escaping plan will work. However, someone questions him about the possibility of the spider waking up or remaining awake when they re-enter its lair. Hwang says he will use Yu's fancy sword and gear to defeat it. Additionally, if all else fails, they'll abandon the mana crystals and sell his gear to a random buyer. Hwang proceeds to look up Yu's family's information so he can show up at Yu's funeral to avoid suspicion. While researching, Hwang asks his comrade Kyuhwan if he could have defeated the spider boss. Kyuhwan says he'd stand no chance against it, and Hwang agrees and admits he couldn't defeat it either. Back at the spider's lair, Yu doesn't believe Sung has the strength to defeat the spider boss. Sung partially agrees and compares the C-rank spider boss to the other bosses he defeated in prior episodes. Although Sung is concerned, he charges at the spider boss and fights it. Meanwhile, Chairman Go enters a vehicle and engages in a work-related discussion with Woo, who informs Go that his schedule's free now and would like to chat with him about things more during this car ride. Back at the dungeon, Sung continues fighting the spider boss. During this time, Yu is speechless by Sung's incredible prowess and wonders if Sung is a false ranker, a hunter who adores the thrill of murder. While Yu's lost in thought, Sung's player log informs him that his fatigue stat is rising. Sung examines his Kasaka weapon's abilities via another player log menu. He feels its abilities will help him slay the spider boss, especially if he aims for the boss's weak point. Sung observes the spider boss closely, and during this observational phase, his player log informs him that received a new dash skill, which gives him a 30 speed boost. With it, Sung tries to close in on the spider's weak point to damage it. However, his weapon doesn't penetrate the boss's defenses. During the fight, the spider boss knocks Sung into a wall and Sung notices his fatigue stats risen significantly. Before the spider boss murders Sung notices he has a full recovery item on standby and activates it. With this power and health boost, Sung defeats the spider boss by stabbing it repeatedly. While Sung reaps a reward from the boss's body, Yo is bewildered by the fact that Sung defeated the boss by himself. This fuels his theory of Sung being a false ranker. Yu showers Sung with kindness and Sung finds his behavior strange. Suddenly, Hong and the others arrive. They're shocked Sung and Yu survived and defeated the spider boss. Meanwhile, we cut to Go and Wu sparring in a training area. Wu's impressed by Go's strength, while Go praises Wu for his defensive capabilities. Go gives Wu compelling advice, and we return to Huang and his allies confronting Sung and Yu. Huang and his men think the boss is weak, while others argue Yu defeated the beast with his sword and armor. Huang interrogates Yu about his family and his equipment. He questions how Huang gathered this information about him. Han ignores his question and orders Yu to murder Sung. After revealing the truth about his and his squad's nefarious operations, Huang tells Yu if he doesn't kill Sung, he'll be an accomplice. Moreover, Hong is willing to murder both of them. Yu chooses to side with Sung, so Hang and his allies approach the two with murderous intent. Suddenly, Sung's player log informs him about an urgent quest he must fulfill. It tells Sung that he must murder the people who want to kill him. Otherwise, he'll receive an appropriate penalty. While confused by the task, Kiwan attacks Sung, sending him into a pile of mana crystals. We cut to a girl named Heejin, who visits a parlor with her friends. They share insight about their current hunter-themed activities. Then we return to the battle between Sung, Yo, Hong, and Hong's men. Although Sung is still conscious, he ponders whether or not he should kill Huang and his men. Sung also questions if the player log wants him to survive the ordeal so he can become stronger. Sung approaches Huang and his men with killing intent. One of Huang's men approaches Sung and Sung beheads him with ease, to Huang and the others' shock. Sung proceeds to murder Huang's other men with his Kasaka blade. Sung murders all of Huang's men, so Huang increases his power to combat Sung. Despite Huang's efforts, Sung murders Huang. Sung and Yo flee the dungeon. While they discuss with a worker about their dungeon experiences, Sung observes his rewards from the human-slaying mission. Sung can't believe he got rewarded for murdering people. After examining the murderous intent skill he achieved from his human hunt, Yu finishes his conversation with the female worker and thanks Sung for his help. Sung notices it's raining and states that he's happy he gave Jinna the umbrella. We cut to a building, and the episode closes with a shot of a muscular man. Episode 7 of Solo Leveling begins with a man presenting Wu with documents concerning Sung and Yu's dungeon expedition with Huang and the others. Despite the man's concerns about the expedition, Wu isn't too interested to look into it himself. The man shares more details regarding who is involved in the expedition to entice Wu to look into it. Sung returns home with chicken and other delectable food items. Jinna greets Sung and Sung tells Jinna that he'll be able to cover their hospital bills and other expenses for a while. While the two eat, Jinna asks Sung how his recent dungeon expedition went. She asks him several questions regarding his health and party members. Sung reflects on his experiences and believes he's changed. Jinna notices something's amiss with Sung and asks him if he's okay. Sung assures Jinna that he's all right. Internally, Sung says he's focused on becoming stronger and surviving. He says he'll kill more humans if put in this situation again. Then, the player log system informs him that the beverage he's consuming will harm him. Sung returns to his room and continues drinking the alcohol. He realizes he's not getting drunk from it and wonders if the player log system's preventing that from happening. Then, the player log system tells Sung that a reward he earned from the double dungeon is helping him avoid that. Sung realizes this is why his limbs grew back after that fiasco. Later, Jinna wakes Sung up and tells him that Yu wants to meet him at a cafe. At the cafe, Yu tells Sung he's crafting a strike team and would love him to join him on 19 or so dungeon expeditions. Sung attempts to leave, but Yu convinces him to stay. Yu confirms he wants to become a licensed guild master. He says he needs 20 raids to achieve his mission, and notes the one he and Sung participated in counts as one. He reveals his father wants to put a guild together for business purposes. He particularly wants an S-rank hunter guild master and Yuo's brother to serve in a second-in-command role. Sung reminds Yuo that there are only a few guild masters in the world, with most already being affiliated with a guild. He also questions Yu if his father planned to poach a guild master from a guild. Sung feels if Yu's father does that, it'd be a terrible move because he'd draw negative attention to his business. Yu hands Sung a portfolio containing documents about a building Yu's father wants to use for the guild's headquarters. He says its current market value is 30 billion and says he's willing to offer that to Sung if he can help him complete 19 successful raids. Sung thinks this through and declines Yu's offer. Although Yu tries to entice Sung further, Sung departs. Meanwhile, we cut to Hwang's brother, Dong-soo. He asks someone to get him intel on the two people who went on the raid with his brother and his men. A woman named Laura hands Dong-soo a document on the incident. Dong-soo feels his brother was murdered by someone and asks Laura what would happen to him if he killed someone abroad. After hearing Laura out and discussing his scheduling concerns with Laura, Dong-soo hopes Sung and Yu will survive long enough for him to enact his revenge. As Sung and Jinna go for a jog, they discuss what she'd do if she had $30 billion. Sung picks up the pace and leaves Jaina behind. He checks the player log system and notices he overachieved in his quest's running requirement. Sung questions how high it can go and continues running. Sung realizes the system cuts off at a certain point. Additionally, he notices the daily quest turned into a secret one. Sung checks the awards he earned from this quest. He spots a blessed random loot box item and selects it. Sung opens the box and receives the Demon Castle's key. The item's bio states that it'll allow Sung to enter an S-rank dungeon called the Demon's Castle. If he conquers it, he'll achieve the ingredients for the Elixir of Life, which can cure all illnesses via powerful magic. Sung visits his mother and wonders if this elixir has the power to cure her. He flees to the area that the player log system told him to visit so he can use the key. Sung enters the dungeon and says if things get hasty, he plans to use the teleportation stone he saved from his instance dungeon outing. Sung confronts a magic beast called Hell's Gatekeeper Cerberus. The two fight, but none of Sung's weapons, enhancements, or abilities assist him against Cerberus. Sung attempts to use his teleportation stone, but Cerberus attacks Sung, causing him to lose it. He opens up the player log store and buys a few potions. However, the potions don't give him much. Sung notices he still has Kasaka's Venom Gland item in his inventory. Sung selects the item and drinks the concoction. With this item's power and Sung's several eye-stabbing attempts, he successfully defeats Cerberus. After getting healed up, the player log system alerts Sung about some things he unlocked. Sung notices something else popped up, too. He selects it and receives a small document-like reward. Then, the player log system tells Sung that he must find 3 items to craft the Elixir of Life. It says he can find these items in the Demon's Castle. Sung knows if he heads into that castle now, he'll perish. The episode closes with Sung stating that he plans to investigate the castle at a later time. Episode 8 of Solo Leveling begins with Sung visiting his mother and reflecting on his experience with the S-rank dungeon. He feels he needs to get stronger before he returns to collect the Elixir of Life's ingredient. Later, Sung meets up with Yu at the cafe and tells him he'd like to accept his 19 C-rank raids offer. However, Sung only wants Yu and him to clear the C-rank dungeons. Yu is distraught by Sung's stipulation since C-rank dungeons require 8 team members. Sung says they can hire folks similarly to what Hong did. Although Yu is skeptical about it all, Sung entices him to comply. Yu promises to arrange some gates and recruit folks in the meantime. Elsewhere, we see Hye-in undergoing some training. A man named Yu confronts Hye-in about something. Then, we observe Yu and his father conversing in a car. Yu's father reflects on life before and after the gates and dungeons appeared. After that spiel, his father shares insight into the Hunters Association and their order of operations regarding hunters, guilds, and dungeons. While discussing guilds, Yu's father name drops the 5 most commendable and largest guilds. He says they hold a monopoly over dungeon-related profits, and he finds that unappealing. He hopes the guild he forms with his son will help him accomplish his goals. Meanwhile, we observe Sung attempting to surpass his requirements for his daily quest. Sung opens his player log and notices it's not counting his extra work anymore. Sung is upset with this fact because he was hoping to obtain something of value from this activity. Sung checks one of his regular random loot boxes to see if it'll give him something worthwhile. Unfortunately, he only receives a used bingo card. Sung wanders the city, contemplating things that'll help him level up efficiently. Sung receives an email from the Hunters Association. They're seeking some hunters for a D-rank excursion. Although Sung prefers something better, he's willing to accept the task. We cut to Song and his student discussing their current sparring session. Song receives an emergency summons and his student questions him about retirement. Although Sung understands his student's sentiments, he says he still wants to contribute to society. Later, Baek visits Choi. Baek is enraged that Choi made him participate in an interview that was meant for Choi. Choi changes the subject and informs Baek about Yu's father's guild, building developments. Baek says he knew about Yu's father's plans and wants to know why Choi called him to his office. Before we'd receive an answer, we cut to Joohee and her mother chatting over the phone. Joohee's mother insists that Joohee come home and help with the family business. Joohee tells her mother to let her make her own decisions and ends the phone call. Joohee reflects on Sung's activities and wants to try harder. She receives a similar message Sung received from the Hunter Association regarding the D-rank mission. Hae-in visits Choi in his office and tells him she received a business opportunity from a Yojin construction scout. Taein tells Choi she declined their guildmaster offer but wants Choi to elaborate on what he and Baek discussed. We cut to Baek in a bar, reflecting on his conversation with Choi about the failed raid at Jeju Island. Choi upset that society's forgotten the disaster that occurred on the island, unlike himself. He hopes to clear the island in the future and reveals why he needs everyone on the same page. After that, we see Song reunite with Sung. The two catch up briefly and inform each other about their current plans involving the D-rank dungeon summons. Then Sung and Song notice that Joohee, Park, and another individual are participating in this dungeon. Before they catch up, several Hunter Association affiliates and prisoners arrive. One of the associates explains the C-rank prisoners will be joining our heroes on their dungeon expedition as substitutes. She explains they're short on staff and promises these prisoner hunters will be on their best behavior. Additionally, the associate says they'll be accompanied by an inspector named Kang. Kang introduces himself to everyone and promises that he'll keep the prisoners in check. Song asks Sung if he can serve as their leader, despite what happened during their double dungeon expedition. Sung says he's okay with it. The episode closes with Song leading our heroes into the dungeon. Episode 9 of Solo Leveling begins with Sung and the others defeating multiple goblin enemies in the dungeon. Song and Joohee praise Sung for his achievements and notice he's a lot stronger than he used to be. Our group continues exploring the dungeon and end up in a situation that offers 3 pathways. The prisoners and Kang take the third path, and Sung, Song, and Joohee take the left path. Kim and his ally take the middle path. While Kim and his ally are battling goblins, Kim ensures his ally they'll be safe on this dungeon outing. Moreover, Kim plans to apologize to Sung for leaving him behind during the double dungeon expedition. Meanwhile, Kang's prisoners ramble about how easy the goblins are to kill. Kang asks them if the prisoners would feel a similar way if the goblins were humans instead. The prisoners tell Kang they wouldn't notice a difference. We cut to a flashback between Kang and a client. This client mentions how it isn't fair that these prisoners were offered a chance to free themselves, given the pain they caused him and his family. He offers Kang $3 billion to kill these men. Kang tells the prisoners that when he departs from this place, he plans to tell the other inspectors that the 3 perished while fighting 100 goblins. This indicates that Kang accepted his client's offer and plans to murder the prisoners if the magic beasts can't. Kim and his allies stumble upon Kang, who is about to murder the final prisoner. Realizing Sung and the others left for the boss room, Kang kills the final prisoner and walks toward Kim and his ally. He plans to murder them to erase any evidence. While pondering his experiences with Kang, Sung overhears someone shout and alerts Joohee and Song about it. The 3 stumble upon the prisoners' corpses and Kim's ally's remains, too. Sung spots Kim's body nearby and asks Joohee to heal him. Song realizes a magic beast wasn't responsible for harming Kim and the others. Meanwhile, Kim tells the 3 to leave him behind. Sung's not willing to accept that, and Kim tells Sung that he wishes he could have properly apologized to him. Kim passes away, leaving Sung in disarray. Kang tries attacking Joohee, but Sung blocks his attack. Kang tells the others that he plans to forge a new tale that'll explain how they perished in the dungeon. That way, he can escape the dungeon without drawing suspicion toward himself. Song asks Joohee to apply a strength buff on himself. With this buff and Kim's sword, Song fights Kang. Before Kang can murder Song, Sung steps in and confronts him. Sung tells Kang he's an E-rank hunter and Kang's baffled by his remarks. Kang believes Sung's a false ranker or had a second awakening. Additionally, he wonders if Sung is the same kid he and his ally met in one of the earlier episodes. Sung questions Kang about his reasons for torturing Kim and his ally. Kang says he murdered the prisoners because of a client of his. However, Sung knows Kang adores the idea of hurting people since he could have finished Kim and his ally off without. In a flashback, Kang tells his client he'll accept the task. However, he tells his client he's not doing it for his sake, rather, he's doing it to fulfill his lust for killing people. Sung and Kang clash, and during the fight, Sung's player log system assigns him with a new human assassination quest. Realizing what he must do, Sung gives his best effort against Kang. However, Kang uses a new assassin technique to catch Sung by surprise. Joo-hee and Song worry about Sung after Kang brutally uses his technique to injure one of Sung's legs. Kang tells Joo-hee and Song not to interfere with his fight with Sung. Sung uses one of his full recovery tools to heal his leg. Kang strikes at Sung, but Sung finds a way to stab him with his dagger, netting Sung the victory over Kang. Sung interrogates Kang after their fight. Kang questions how Sung achieved this level of strength despite being an E-rank hunter. Sung tells him he'd like to know himself. Kang laughs and coughs up blood. He tells Sung that since he killed him, he can no longer keep his E-rank hunter facade. Kang offers Sung some advice and perishes. Sung collects his rewards and ponders Kang's words. Joo-hee and Song thank Sung for his help. Sung tells the two to exit the dungeon and to let him handle the dungeon boss. Later, Woo and a dungeon supervisor head to the dungeon's location. Woo can't believe Kang was filled with killing intent. Additionally, Woo is shocked by Sung's appearance. Woo asks the three who killed Kang. Although Sung is concerned, Song steps in and says he killed Kang and credits Joo-hee for helping him do so. Woo's skeptical about Song defeating Kang, but accepts the C-rank hunter's answer. While Woo speaks with his acquaintance, Sung examines Woo and realizes he's an A-rank hunter. Song tells Sung that this is his way of paying him back for the double dungeon event. Sung reflects on what happened 3 hours after this incident. He claims Kang's client turned himself in. The episode closes with Joo-hee showing Sung an essence stone. The episode 10 of Solo Leveling begins with Joo-hee and Sung taking a stroll in the park. During this stroll, Joo-hee tells Sung she's not over the fear she obtained from the double dungeon expedition. Also, Joo-hee feels she should be tackling higher-ranked dungeons. However, she opted for lower-ranked ones instead. Joo-hee offers Sung her essence stone and tells him she plans to retire and move back in with her folks. After Joo-hee departs, we enter a flashback involving Woo and Sung. Woo believes Sung isn't capable of defeating Kang on his own. However, he tells Sung to be careful because Hwang's younger brother Dong-soo might be after him, and Woo says the law is powerless against S-rank hunters like Dong-soo. Also, he says these hunters can bring forth peace or chaos. In the present, Sung feels he needs to get stronger. Later, Sung visits Yuo and Yu introduces Sung to their strike team. Sung's taken aback by the fact Yu hired drunks and a miner. The miner confronts Sung for his offhand comment toward her. Sung tells her and the others that they'll be waiting outside. He and Yo plan to raid the dungeon alone. One of the hunters questions the stipulations Yu and Sung set in motion. Yo ensures the hunter that he'll be paid. As Yu goes over the rules and consequences of his strike team offer with the recruits, Sung uses a stealthy stone he achieved from defeating Kang. Yu approaches Sung in a suit of armor, baffling Sung. Sung tells Yu to take off the equipment. Yu complies but asks Sung if he can keep the helmet on. Sung allows it and the two enter the dungeon's gate. Several hunters wonder if it was the right move to let the two explore the dungeon alone. One of them tells the other not to worry about it and reminds their comrade that they already got paid. During this spiel, we learn from Jinna that the miner who took on Yu's offer was a classmate named Song-yu. After an hour passes, the strike team wonders why Yu and Sung haven't returned yet. Suddenly, Sung and Yu exit the dungeon and the strike team is surprised that they achieved victory. After several level-ups and dungeon expeditions, Yu notices Sung's becoming stronger over time. While tackling a dungeon, Sung notes how useful his new stealth skill is along with his other ones. While resting, Sung contemplates if he should tackle the Demon Castle mission. Suddenly, the player log system informs Sung about a job change quest. We cut to a Hunter Association office building. A man named Kichul hands his manager Arshan a document. In it, An learns that someone is spending $150 million on C-rank dungeon gate ownership. Moreover, Aeon learns Yu and Sung are running this charade. An wonders if Sung is the same Sung who participated in the double dungeon expedition. An speculates Sung's reawakened, baffling Kichul. An backs up his claim with evidence. An tells Kichul that he plans to scout Sung. An and Kichul visit Yu's strike team. Song Yai tells An and Kichul to leave. An wants to meet Sung, but chooses to leave with Kichul. Sung and Yue exit the dungeon. Sung asks Yu if he can take the day off. Yuo says he can put the gates he purchased for them to tackle on hold for 2 days. We cut to Guildmaster Choi waking up from a Jeju Island nightmare. He looks at the document on his desk and says it's almost time to initiate his reconnaissance Jeju Island mission. Later, Aeon and Kichul approach Sung. An introduces himself as the White Tigers Guild's second administration team manager. An and Sung enter the cafe. An wants Sung to join the White Tigers Guild. Sung declines An's offer. Before Sung departs, he asks An who informed him about him. An admits that he searched for information on Sung due to dungeon market complications. An promises Sung that he or his ally won't ramble about Sung to others. Sung appreciates An's gesture and offers An ownership of 3 of their C-rank gates. If he refuses, Sung says he and his guild should forgo entering any C-rank dungeons in the future. An and Sung agree, and Sung uses one of his potions to heal An's wound. Sung and Yu chat about the gate and cash exchange. Then we cut to several White Tigers Guild employees reacting to the news about owning the 3 C-rank dungeons. Kichul informs An about this development, and Ahan can't believe Sung scammed him. Although An's slightly bitter about the ordeal, he's happy he got Sung's contact information. The episode closes with Sung contemplating what this job change quest entails. Episode 11 of Solo Leveling begins with Sung visiting a location and accepting his job change quest task. Suddenly, a purple portal appears in front of Sung, which he then enters. We cut to Yu and his father in a dining area. Yu's brother Jin Sung greets Yu's father. We return to following Sung, and he finds this job change quest's dungeon peculiar. His play log informs him that he can't use his full recovery skill or any potions. Also, Sung must conquer the dungeon to escape it. Sung encounters a knight. He toys with it for a while and uses his Fatal Strike skill to defeat it. More knights arrive to challenge Sung. We return to following Yu, his father, and Jin Sung. Yu's father asks Jin Sung how his S-rank hunter recruitment plans are going. Jin Sung says several hunters turned him down, but he has some negotiations underway with European and Middle Eastern hunters. Jin Sung turns to Yu. He knows about Yu's current C-rank dungeon buying ploy. Jin Sung tells him not to get in his way. Meanwhile, Sung defeats several knights. Suddenly, more enemies arrive to fight Sung. Sung realizes these enemies are utilizing skills from previous foes he's encountered before. He thinks about each magic beast's weaknesses while dodging their attacks and attacking them. Sung knows he's starting to get tired from this battle, so he wants to end it swiftly. We shift to following Guildmaster Choi. Choi meets up with Cha Hae-in and other hunters near an aircraft. We return to observing Sung, who has successfully defeated his enemies. His player log informs him that he's obtained some armor, and he equips it. Sung enters a new room and encounters a red knight figure inside it. He says the pressure that's exuding from this red knight resembles the tension he felt during the Double Dungeon expedition. The knight's title appears in front of Sung, informing him that the knight is called Igris the Bloodred. Also, Igris's title is red, signaling to Sung that Igris is more powerful than him. Igris and Sung duke it out. Igris overwhelms Sung, and Sung wonders how he can penetrate Igris's defenses. Sung plans to fight Igris in hand-to-hand combat. Igris tosses its weapons aside, and Sung wonders if Igris is downplaying him. Meanwhile, Wu visits Chairman Go. The two discuss their respective workloads briefly before Choi calls Go on the phone. Go asks Choi if everything is going well, and Choi says it is, and thanks Go for approving his upcoming operation. Go says it's no big deal and wishes Choi and his squad the best at Jeju Island. Choi says he and the others will be fine since this expedition is about assessing threat levels. We return to following Sung and Igris's fight. Sung is overwhelmed by Igris's might. Sung decides to increase his speed stat to see if it'll assist him in this battle. Unfortunately, this doesn't bode well for Sung and results in him getting tossed around like a rag doll. Meanwhile, Jinna leaves Sung a note in the kitchen and heads to her room to eat and study. Then, we return to following Sung's fight with Igris. Sung's sitting on Igris's chair, while Igris is looming over him. Igris summons his sword and tries to murder Sung. Sung grabs the sword, tosses it aside, and summons his blade to stab Igris's eye. While Igris is immobilized, Sung pushes Igris to a nearby wall and starts stabbing him multiple times. The player log pops up and informs Sung that he defeated Igris. Additionally, more logs pop up, and Sung learns about the multiple rewards he's obtained after defeating Igris. After examining all his rewards, Sung wonders why the player log gave him a teleportation stone if he can't fit it in his inventory. He wonders if the job change quest is still ongoing. Suddenly, more portals and player logs appear around Sung. Sung wonders if he's facing infinite enemy waves now. Although Sung has to fight numerous enemies, he realizes they aren't on par with Igris regarding strength. Sung charges at the knights. Meanwhile, Choi and his allies leave for Jeju Island. Simultaneously, Sung's putting up a decent fight against the horde of knights. However, he wonders how long this will last. Sung knows he may not be able to keep this up for long. He tries using his teleportation stone, but one of the knights knocks it out of his hand. The episode closes with a horde of knights rushing at him. Episode 12 of Solo Leveling begins, where we left off in Episode 11, with Sung fighting off the horde of knights. While Sung is combating the knights, he knows he's running out of methods to defeat them. Nonetheless, Sung gives it his all in the fight. As Sung starts to dwindle, he starts hearing words echoing through his ears about people claiming that he's a weak hunter and should quit while he's ahead. Elsewhere, Chairman Go shares a few remarks about the third Jeju Island raid and explains why he didn't attend to Woo. Unlike Go, Woo says he attended the raid and was performing security duties. Go says that many people lost their lives during that event and knows that the ones who survived still have ill memories about it. However, he knows all hunters must learn to overcome pain and prepare for the calamities awaiting them. Sung discusses matters with his past self. Although past Sung admires present Sung's build, he senses weakness within present Sung. While the knights continue harming present Sung, past Sung says present Sung will always be an E-rank hunter and nothing more. While the knights overwhelm Sung, he wonders if his past self is right and that things haven't changed. Suddenly, the player log appears before Sung, reminding him that he must complete his daily quest. Since Sung can't complete the quest, the player log system transfers him to the penalty zone. Sung arrives at the penalty zone and reflects on what happened to him. Sung summons items from his store and drinks them to heal himself from the wounds he sustained from that job change quest dungeon. While drinking some health potions, the player log system informs Sung that if he's seriously injured, his potions won't restore his health points anymore. Therefore, Sung says he must wait for his wounds to heal naturally or level up. Several centipede monsters arrive, and Sung notices they're all on equal grounds with him regarding their title card's color. He combats the centipedes. Meanwhile, we return to following Jinna. Noticed Sung never returned home. She wonders if he'll make it to the upcoming guardian teacher meeting on time. Back at the penalty zone, we see Sung resting on a centipede. He defeated them all, leveled up, and significantly recovered from his wounds. Sung opens the player log system to sort his gear out. Sung opts to check out the system's store first. He stumbles upon a night killer weapon and purchases it. Sung grabs the blade and crushes the runestone he obtained after he defeated Isius. After Sung crushes the runestone, the player log appears. Sung notices he's obtained the skill Ruler's Hand. This skill doesn't require mana and will allow Sung to physically manipulate objects without touching them. Sung tries moving the centipede's corpse, but realizes he can't move heavy objects yet. Sung returns to the job quest change dungeon. He notices there are more knights in the room than before. He plans to combat them with his new gear and skill. Meanwhile, someone informs Guildmaster Choi and his allies that they'll arrive in the airspace over Jeju Island shortly. Choi confronts Chahayan since she looks concerned. Hayan tells him she's not concerned about this expedition of theirs. However, she admits she wasn't a hunter during the third raid's events. Yet, she understands how Choi feels about it. Someone senses multiple mana sources from the ocean's depths and informs Choi and the others about it. We return to following Sung in his fight with the knights. Sung says he's sensing something strange in the area despite the Night Killer blade giving him aid during his fight with the knights. Sung examines the warriors he's combating on the battlefield. He realizes the mages are summoning knights to the battlefield via magic portals. This entices Sung to target the mages instead. After Sung defeats one of the mages, several knights crumble. Sung plans to defeat the remaining mages to continue progressing through this enemy horde debacle. After Sung defeats another mage, the remaining mages huddle together. They use their powers to transform their remaining knights into a golem. Despite the mages' efforts, Sung defeats them and conquers the golem they created afterward. The player log appears and informs Sung that he finished the job change quest. Sung ponders about what will happen next. Suddenly, the player log starts showing Sung's nefarious messages about death and murder. Then, the player log tells Sung his new job class is a necromancer, and Sung is puzzled by this. Sung doesn't like the sound of that. He wants a job class that's more of the strength variety. The player log asks Sung if he wants to accept the job. Sung tries to reject the offer, but the player log tells him it's a hidden class. It returns to the original yes or no screen. Sung ponders the job over and reflects on his battle with the mages and knights. Simultaneously, Sung wonders if this is all pre-arranged. After thinking it over, Sung accepts the job. After the player log bestows Sung with the job class, it informs Sung that he's earned another class. This job class is called Shadow Monarch. Also, Sung notices he's obtained several awards and wonders if the entire quest is done now. Several shadows crop out of the knights Sung defeated. The player log asks him to input a command word into its system for his shadow extraction skill. Sung chooses Arise. Ghostly night figures rise from the knights. The player log feeds Sung intel about the shadow extraction and shadow storage skills. One allows him to drain mana to create shadow soldiers, while the other allows him to hold on to those soldiers and summon them whenever he pleases. Additionally, Sung says the shadow extraction skill can fail based on the target's strength or time since death. He learns that he's acquired shadow mages too. Each has a set level. Sung wanders to Igris's body and learns he can extract his shadow. Sung notes there's a limit to how many beings he can have in his storage. He releases a few knights. Sung tries extracting Igris's shadow, but fails. The player log says he has 2 more attempts left. Sung tries again and fails. While that's happening, we overhear Chairman Go reflecting on the Hunter reawakening process. Sung tries persuading Igris to join his side and abandon his former master. Chairman Go continues rambling about the same subject. Simultaneously, Sung successfully extracts Igris's shadow. The player log asks Himo give Igris a new name. Sung gives Igris his name. Igris and the other Shadow Army members bow before Sung. Sung tells Igris and the others that they're with him now.